Is the road in front of your house or office a public good? Is the park in your neighborhood a public good? How about the air you breathe? The water that is piped into your home? The electricity that you consume? Chances are you will say, yes, these are all used by the public, you and me, and hence they are public goods. But are they really? There are some concepts in economics which tell you they may not be. Hi, I am Sathya Sankaran, and you are tuned into the OoruLabs podcast. I will try and break this down for you in today's episode of the Explainer series. Let's jump on in. In order to classify the things we use in our daily life, we need to understand the definition of public goods. In economics and philosophy, public goods have two characteristics. It needs to be non excludable and non rivalrous. What are these terms? First, excludability, also called subtractability, is the ability to keep some people excluded from accessing the good. So, if you're prevented from accessing the object in question, it is excludable. This is usually done by charging a fee, for example, that acts as a nice proxy, right? For example, if you toll a road, only the people who can pay the toll will use it. You are excluding the others. It ceases to be a public good. A public good cannot exclude people from having access to it. Public goods are non excludable. The views you see around your city when you look around is non excludable. The buildings, the lakes, the garbage can be seen by anyone standing near them. You can't exclude some unless you hide the views and charge a fee for viewing, which is practically impossible, right? Second is rivalrous, that word. It is when one person using the good prevents others from using it or reduces its usage for others. So if the road in front of your house can take 40 cars, by parking 20 vehicles on it, you have reduced its use for others. Hence, its rivalrous and ceases to be a public good. The air around you, for example, is non rivalrous, whether it is oxygen or toxic emissions in the city. Once breathing of it does not substantially reduce it for others. Remember, I used the word substantially. In other words, the marginal cost of providing that good to each additional individual is close to zero. Or in plain English, even though you suck in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide and reducing it, the amount you take away is so negligible that it costs almost close to 0 rupees to provide more air to each additional person. Mostly because so much of it is available. But you might be asking the question, how is the road not a public good when all of us are using it and sharing it? Things that are rivalrous and excludable are private good. Like the stuff you buy, your house, your car, your bicycle, they are private goods. You exclude your neighbors from the car and your house, and your usage of it makes it unavailable for others. Things that are rivalrous but non-excludable are called common goods. Let me repeat that. Things that are rivalrous but non-excludable are called common goods. So a road doesn't exclude people from getting on it, but every user that gets on it reduces its availability for another. At least the ability to provide for each additional consumer of this road is not close to zero. In fact, it rapidly goes up as more users clog it. Right? That is why it is a common good. It gets more and more rivalrous. It's not an unlimited resource like air. It is limited. And as more people get on it, it reduces the benefit for others. And provisioning extra lanes and everything else is infinitely more expensive. And hence, you have to look at more efficient utilization of the provisioned infrastructure so that it continues to remain a common good. Why is this classification of road as a common good important? I use that example because in a city you can relate to it. For one, non excludability has implications. Whether it is the view of the city or the road, it is generally not tied to one person using it, even if you pay You can't prevent others from using it. You can't charge people on the roadside for the view, since everyone who doesn't pay it also can see it. You can stand on the roadside and put a toll and say, look, I'll show you all the garbage in the city. And people pay to see it, but everybody else can see it as well. So there is no business case in doing that. This is also called the free rider problem. Like the view of city from tall skyscrapers will be offered by someone, right? But that will also fail if the next skyscraper offers the view for free. And it is even worse these days. You can just get it for free on YouTube with a drone, right? So it doesn't make any business sense to do that. And this is why it's important. The business case for provisioning common good. Of course, toll road prevents people who don't pay from using it, and it begins to resemble a private good. So that's a different case. We can get into that after we understand who pays for what. So you should realize the pattern by now. Most of the common goods that are built, like roads, water pipelines, electricity, etc., are provisioned by the government. Right? Common good properties are provisioned by the government. You realize that unconsciously you knew they were doing it for you because it's for public shared use. But now you have a definition called common good because of the properties it has of excludability and rivalrousness. It is paid for by our taxes, which are collected from everyone. So the business case is this: since one person cannot prevent the others from using it, it has to be paid for by everyone that is using it. But however, you will notice that even though natural resources like water, air, sunlight, rivers, greenery, etc., are public good, which is accessible to everyone, and the marginal cost is close to zero, and hence it's non-rivalrous and non-excludable, only those who paid for piped water get the water. And the electricity through your wire is available for a fee, and your internet and your cell phones only work on payment because they use the telecom infrastructure, which is the spectrum, which is radio waves. Moreover, private goods like cars, cell phones, computers, etc., use the common good infrastructure, which in turn uses the underlying public goods like natural resources to make it work. You see what's going on here? What are the implications of this classification and the interplay? Each one relies on the other. This way of classification is extremely contextual. Because, like you saw, a public good may be used and provided as a private good or as a common good resource. Like oil, for example, is a public good when it's down there. But when it's extracted and converted for use in a car, it's a private good paid for by the owner. But the use of the car itself is on the common good called road, paid for by tax rupees. Sand, iron ore, and stones are public good, but becomes a private good when processed and sold as cement, steel, and concrete. It then become a common good like road, or a private good like a house. And the common good is paid for by the tax rupees instead. These classifications help us determine who should pay for common good resources and how to value the public good resources, which are currently assumed to be unlimited because their marginal cost of acquisition is close to zero. What happens in the case of depleting resources? How do you value them? How do you value the depleting air quality or carbon dioxide or the natural resources? How do you value them in this interplay? So here's a thought experiment. How do you prevent a congested road hogged by cars from subtracting and reducing its availability for many others who use public transport, walk, or cycle? By not provisioning facilities for walking and cycling, aren't you making it excludable? If it's both rivalrous and excludable, won't it then become a private good? To solve this, we need to understand collective action, problem, and social cost, which we'll go into the next episode. But before we end, I have a question for you. Is safety of people in the city a private good or a common good or a public good? How about public transport? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.